Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the next episode. And today our guest is Rushd Khan. Got it correct, didn't I?
Yeah, you got
All right,
it.
perfect. Yeah, I won't lie. We practiced before. And he's the founder and owner of, and this one's a little harder one, Barakah?
Barakah, yeah,
Barakah,
Barakah
yeah.
Eats.
There we go. Barakah Eats. And there's a bit of a story behind that, which we'll talk about in a minute. So they manufacture a line of frozen gourmet South Asian influenced ready-to-eat meals that can be warmed up in minutes. The products are free from pesticides and are HALEC certified. He grew up in a family business. His parents opened up in a small Pakistan Indian restaurant in the early 20s, which grew to multiple locations. He has worked in all areas of the business, which has increased his passion for the food industry. Also, MBA from Simon Fraser University, and that's here in Vancouver, for those of you who don't know. And his education is paired with practical knowledge of business led to the creation of a line of products that are now sold in 150 grocery stores. Welcome.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate the introduction.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the cliff notes about how you got to what you're doing today and a little more about what you guys do.
So basically the background to kind of our business is my parents started a family-run restaurant in the early 2000s, 2005, I think they launched. Very small mom and pop. We had like 12 seats, and it was like a Greek donair shop that they had taken over. So that wasn't really our background. So when we took that over, we kind of kept a bit of that menu, but we added food that was more familiar to us, which is like more Pakistani Indian inspired dishes. So we added that, and the restaurant did well. We grew. In a few years, we opened up a second location, and then by 2015, we had like a third location, and we had a catering truck. So different locations, and I was basically working with the family business from the beginning, the early stages. So I was like 15, I think, when I started. So I was doing a little bit of everything. At the beginning, it was more just kind of watching, learning how to be a cashier, working, running tables, things like that.
Right.
And that really got me, it really increased my passion towards business and food.
Right.
And seeing my family or my parents create a business, they were working long days, long hours, and they established something that was like basically from scratch. So through university, I was still working part-time with the business, and then when I graduated, finished undergrad, I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? Can we move the business forward? Can we scale it? So we looked at different things. Went back to school, did my master's in business, and that really kind of opened my eyes. And I was like, hey, how can we maybe scale this business so we can kind of reach more homes,
Right.
more people? And that's where we kind of came up with the idea, okay, let's package it. So a few
Right.
years down the road, we started testing that out, and that's what led to Barakah Eats.
Interesting. So what was one of the biggest challenges moving into starting to package the food?
There's a lot of challenges. It's completely different than the restaurant industry. So I think the idea of this business was kind of in the works for a while. My mom kind of like instigated as well. Like she was like, okay, like like we want you to be part of the business, but you can't kind of just be doing what you're doing now. You have to use your education and push it forward. So that's
Right.
where like, okay, let's package it. And then so I think 2013 we went and we got like a vacuum sealer, some bags so we had some basic equipment to start the process, and we didn't do anything for like a couple of years. We
Right.
didn't know where to get started. We didn't know anything, and then we're too busy with the restaurant side.
Yeah.
We ended up our lease expired for one of our restaurant locations in end of 2018.
Right.
So that kind of provided some time to kind of play around, see kind of what we could do. And yeah, the hardest part was just getting started. Like
Right.
literally went back to the equipment that we had. I had a few bags sitting around, vacuum sealed a pouch. I think my parents were away for that weekend. So then I put something together. I put like a fake label on, a fake barcode, gave it a name, and then I snapped a picture to my dad, and I was like, "Hey, I think we're onto something here." So the
Right. Right.
hardest part was kind of getting started, and then it kind of just escalated from there. But very different like concept in the restaurant,
Yeah.
where you kind of just create a menu, kind of go with that. As long as you have the permits and everything, okay, you're good to go. You have your
Yeah.
food, you can make changes. But it's like this is like different because it's like you have to create something, make sure that you have the right regulations, the labeling is all correct, and then you have a customer, right? You have to go out and sell it, right? Whereas a restaurant, people are coming to you, it's a little bit easier to market.
Right. Yeah, I agree. They're completely kind of different,
Yeah.
different business models completely.
Oh, completely,
Yeah.
completely. Yeah.
So how about and I met you guys at the Vegan Expo, and
Yes.
so what directed you to start going that way as well?
Yeah. So we started this business near the end of 2018. We really got into it more like early 2019. And then when I was trying to figure out how to kind of market the business, trying to see kind of how can we meet people. And this is all kind of a little bit before the pandemic, so obviously it was a little bit easier.
Right.
And I came across like farmers markets,
Okay.
and we became like a vendor at the first farmers market we did was like the Surrey market.
Okay.
So that went well. We had a good response. Then we applied to get to the Vancouver farmers market, so we did that. And then so we had initially like 4 products, and none of those at that time were vegan. They're all like halal products. So we were very careful with kind of like what products we were putting out there.
Right.
But we didn't have a vegan product. And living in Vancouver, like I guess I was kind of living in a hole myself, that I was like, okay, there's like such a demand for these kind of products. We should cater to this community. We should there's so many things we can do with it, with our food, that's naturally vegan. Customers were giving us ideas at the market. They're like, hey, why don't you do chickpeas this? Like, oh, I go to so many Indian restaurants or South Asian restaurants, there's so many like vegan dishes, why don't you have something? And we're like, you
Right.
know what, you're right. So then we went back to the drawing board, came up with a few products, and some of those products are like our top sellers now. It's ironic, like when we started the business, I wouldn't have expected to be at a vegan expo, and we've done that twice. So we haven't done too many trade shows, but we've done the vegan expo twice.
Right.
Planted, it's called Planted now.
Yeah.
And we were testing out items a few weeks ago there that we haven't even brought to market yet, and people loved it.
Yeah.
So we're actually working on the packaging right now on a few more items that we're bringing to market that are actually vegan.
Cool. So are you with that line, are you going to try and sell direct to consumer from website, try and get them into stores, grocery stores? What's your kind of plan for that?
So we do sell directly to consumer through our Shopify website.
Right.
It's a little bit harder to ship our products because they're frozen, so it gets a little bit expensive.
Right.
We are in grocery stores, and it's interesting times right now because there's such a big demand for vegan products. So it's like if you have a brand and your product line is already in a grocery store, and you come out with like vegan products that people like, it's a lot easier actually getting those products on the shelves, just because there's a demand
Interesting.
than like even other products.
So you're saying like the grocery stores want them, they know that.
Yeah, they want them. Yeah, like we've had discussions. We've had discussions with their distributor, and they're like, yeah, like that's what everyone wants, right? And like the unique thing about our products are there's no preservatives. We're not using any fillers. The products that we're using, the products that we're creating that are vegan, they're like naturally wholesome. They're like things that we grew up eating, that we didn't think of these products as vegan when we were eating them. It was just a part of our diet, right?
Yeah.
Lentils,
Yeah.
chickpeas,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff, right? Like we didn't think of it that way, but it was
Yeah.
like stuff that we were eating, and we're like, okay, now that we're like, hey, our customer wants this stuff. Like we never thought that this is what the customer wanted, right? Until we actually talked to the customer, and then they told us, right? They're like, hey,
Right.
we want the stuff that you're eating, right? So a few things we've actually launched in different formats that they're not in the grocery store yet, but they're like in we're doing this project with like different warehouses.
Okay. Yeah.
So like Amazon warehouses is one. We're working with the Lululemon headquarters. We're coming out with they have like micro markets.
Okay.
So we're supplying them with like vegetarian meals. So it's like rice and like the curry or the chickpeas, like vegetarian items, frozen. And they have like a small like micro market. So think of it as like a small grocery store within their warehouse. So it's for the staff to kind of just pull out of the freezer, microwave, and then kind of just eat it right there. So it's like
Oh,
some of those vegan items we've already actually launched in like a certain format. They just haven't hit the grocery stores yet. Yeah.
interesting. So that's like, so Lululemon or Amazon, so they have enough people there where they go
Yeah.
and they get the frozen meal out of the fridge, I guess,
Yeah, exactly. Out of the freezer. Yeah. Cause like there's like 10 warehouses in like 10 Amazon warehouses, I think, within BC.
Right.
And like they're kind of like they're big warehouses, right? So it's like hard for like staff to kind of like go across the street to like Tim Hortons or a
Right. Yeah.
Starbucks to kind of
Yeah.
grab a snack. Like it's like they want to kind of so they either kind of bring something from home, keep it there and then warm it up there, or they have the option of purchasing a full meal.
Right.
And the way we kind of got connected with this was there was options uh, available for the staff there, but the majority of the workers are South Asian at some of these warehouses. So they were kind of like speaking up. They're like, you know what, we don't want mac and cheese, right? We want kind of
Yeah.
like, we want this, we want that, right? So it's like we got connected, and then we were able to provide these meals for them. So it's like a win-win, right? Like,
Right.
workers are happy, they have options that are suitable
Right.
to their diet, and then obviously the team or the company's happy because the staff is happy.
Right. That's an interesting distribution model. Great for you guys too, because not only do you get to put it in there, but you also get to test to see what people actually like.
Exactly, because like the packaging for these products, they're more basic, so it's just kind of like in a tray format. We're able to kind of put a very simple label on it, and then if like let's say if those products they want to change, we kind of go back to the drawing board, and then we throw something else out there, and
Right.
they want different things because they want a variety, whereas like grocery store model is a little bit different. We have to print in thousands and thousands of units, like the packaging.
Right.
And if there's like even one thing we need to change on there, it's very expensive, right? It's like either you come out with a new bag, or it's like, hey, you got to come out with a new label to add to the bag or to the box, and make that adjustment. So it's very expensive. So it's not very easy to make changes.
Right. Right. That's true. So how did you, that's one of those little hidden things, you wouldn't think about, putting meals inside the Amazon or Lululemon, kind of staff places. How did you come up with that? How did that happen?
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. It's like connections and relationships. It's not something that we did think about, but it's like, hey, we were there. We're kind of through the farmers market scene. We got connected with like different relationships, and then we ended up connecting with Good to Grow products.
Okay.
They're like a consulting firm for food and beverage businesses. They're
Right.
based in BC primarily, and they were doing like a pitch and play where they wanted local businesses to kind of pitch to institutions
Okay.
within BC, so universities, um, yeah, colleges, healthcare, things like that. So
Right.
we did a pitch, and this was like still during COVID time, so it was like over Zoom. So we don't even know exactly who was listening,
Right.
but somebody from like this industry was listening, so they kind of made the connection happen. We just got
Right.
an email that, hey, we saw you, we saw that you make these products. Can you come visit us? So we didn't even know how it was going to be, who we were actually
Right.
meeting, but yeah, because it was like through a distributor, but we didn't know where they were distributing to, what they actually wanted, and then
Right.
through these discussions, we kind of led to these products at these places.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of teachings in that, like for the listeners too, because it shows like the more you get out there and are trying different stuff and you're talking and you're joining stuff or you're, whatever you're doing, it's, that you're getting out there to be seen and heard, and you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's going to see, you don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah, totally. And then it's like sometimes you see your product in a certain way, and like it's like that's kind of the only way that you've ever thought about it, and that's the way that you
Yeah.
decide to sell it. But you need to listen to what the people want.
Mhm.
It's like, they're like, okay, can you do it in this format? Or can you do it in this format? And we're like, we're not a huge company where it's like, okay, it's gonna take a lot of work to make a change. Yes, there is work, but it's like, like we're still in the process of growing. So it's like,
Right.
okay, you know what, like, yeah, let's look at that. Maybe that will become a bigger part of our business than like, we anticipated. We're doing a lot of food service now as well. So preparing meals for like restaurants and things like that as well. So larger bags. So it's like, so these are things that we kind of didn't really think about when we
Right.
launched. We were like, okay, we have a product. It's gonna sell at like this store, that store, and we'll come out with more products. But it's not kind of how it always is, right? It's like a roller coaster. It's like but
Yeah.
you have to be able to listen to the customer to see what they want. Watch out for trends,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, I get it. Like you have to kind of be firm on kind of your product. Like you don't want to make too many changes. You don't want to
Yeah.
sacrifice quality and like the real core of like what makes it special. But if there's things that you can kind of like adjust to kind of make it suit like maybe a different industry, a different customer, bring on more business, then why not?
100%. And I think that that is such a key of what you just said. And I think that small businesses don't look at stuff like that enough, which you could call innovation. And we think about innovation as, the word of creating the next Tesla or something, but
Yeah,
innovation, there's so many small innovations that you can
yeah,
do inside your business all the
yeah.
time.
100%. Innovation is a good word actually, because that's a question that we've been asked a lot. Um, um, Even entering different like trade shows and like awards and things like people like, oh, like is your product innovative, right? And it's like an interesting question because it's like I think it is. We are doing different things. We're bringing traditional items into different formats.
Right.
We're using quality ingredients. Our products are halal, and we're doing things that some people we haven't seen here in Vancouver, right?
Right.
Whereas like someone might look at it as okay, you're just like another like frozen Indian box, brand, right? So
Right.
it's not very innovative, right? So it
Right.
really depends on how you're kind of looking at it, because it's like to one, we're like at the farmers market, we have we'll have customers coming, but well, this is so cool, right? Like I've never seen anything like this before. It's so innovative, right? Whereas like someone else be like, oh, I've seen this like a bunch of times, it's overdone, right? So it's like it's very interesting, right? So it's like you kind of
Sure.
like need to keep your eyes open and innovate, and as long as you're innovating in like a way that it makes sense to you and your customer, I think that's innovation, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to like kind of look at it all kind of like black and white.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. There's lots of little innovations that can be done in a business, and from
100%.
distribution to customer experience to how you're going to build leadership with inside teams and employees. There's
100%.
there's so many
Exactly.
ways to do
Exactly. So
stuff.
many things. Yeah.
So where do you see your kind of business going? Like, where do you see the biggest growth coming from for you guys?
That's a good question. We want to continue developing our grocery side. Like I feel like that's been like really instrumental to the brand. People see the product um, at different stores, so it's like okay, they're able to locate it, try it, eat it, and then
Right.
from that, I think we've gained a lot of different opportunities, such as the ones I told you about with the micro markets and food service. So it's continuing to grow that. I feel like there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of places that we can be at. We want to make our product more accessible, more available. So we've hit about over 150 stores now within BC. We've prepped it to like Alberta, but we feel like, hey, we can kind of like get a little bit further out as well. So the number in terms of like distribution, I feel like can grow.
Right.
Formats is good now. I think we're in 3 different formats, so it's like we want to concentrate kind of like on all three. Um, but yeah, like it's like just definitely having our product more available, growing. As this, we talked about this earlier, we have a few products kind of in the works as well that we're thinking of launching. So it's like we're really listening to kind of what the customer wants. So it's
Right.
like we're coming out with like different things that are suiting people's diets. Things, some products, they are familiar with, like butter chicken, for example, and that's like one product that we have in our menu. Uh, you know, because customers are familiar with that, so like they'll try it, and once they try it, they like it, then we offer them another item, right? That they might
Right.
not be familiar with, right? And we kind of take it from there. So it's like you need to kind of have a full range, a full package of items.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So do you see you guys moving more and more also into the vegan space with more vegan products? Do you see that as an opportunity for your company?
Yeah, 100%. We're already working on it right now. As I said, that's the feedback that we even got at the expo that we went to. Right now we have chana masala, which is one of our top sellers right now. So our chickpea lentil curry. We have a veggie biryani that we've had for a little bit. We just haven't brought it full flash into grocery stores yet. We have a dal chawal coming out, which we tested at the expo. So that's like lentils, yellow lentils with rice. So it's like that's one of the things I was telling you about. It's like some stuff that we would have daily as lunch, like as kids at our home that our mom would prepare, right?
Yeah.
And we never
Yeah.
thought of it as like an item that we kind of bring to market. But it's like
Totally.
when we put it out there and we get our customers to test it out, they're like, hey, we want this. This is what we want, right? This
Yeah.
is it tastes. It doesn't even taste frozen, right? It tastes
Yeah.
good, and So that's one. We have a couple other things that we're working on as well. We're looking at coming out like veggie kebabs.
Okay.
So made from like, carrots and like chickpea flour and like actual like veggies, right? So it's like,
I like
it's like
that.
it's
That,
like it gives you like the texture of like, like a meat kebab. But it's actually veggies, right? Like, think of like a proper veggie burger, right? So that's like something that we're working on that we feel like could be good in like food service as well, and in retail. So definitely, like, there's so many things that we're working with. There's another, we do a beef nihari actually, which is like a slow cooked South Asian beef curry. So it's like slow cooked for like 8 hours. Beef gets like very tender and like a gravy. So it's like we're looking at like we met a uh, a vendor at a farmer's market, and he does expos as well. They use like tempeh. So like,
okay.
hey, like, can we play with this and then use this as a substitute instead of the beef in this curry? And like, like, let's see if it
Right.
can hold and like taste similar to kind of like what the beef tastes like.
Right.
So a lot of like experimenting that we're doing, and this is definitely like an industry that we continue to explore.
That's cool. Right. Because I tried your guys' stuff and I liked it. And it's something that I would buy, and it's something like you said, you were just used to having natural because of your culture.
Exactly.
Where I was vegan for quite a while, but even in the vegan world, I never got to have that type of food, that taste like that.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
so for me, it's a good mixture of adding more variety into my eating
Right.
plan, right?
And that's kind of how we're looking at it, because we're like, well, now we're like, we went back to the drawing board and we're like, hey, there's so many things that we're eating that actually are vegan. We just never kind of thought about it, because it's like, hey, we it's just part of our diet, right?
Right.
And it's just like, hey, we were just like,
Yeah.
we never labeled it vegan. It was just like, okay, on Mondays we have this item because
Yeah.
it's just we had too much of like whatever the day before, right? Too
Right.
much
Right.
pizza the day before, right? So this is kind of like, just to balance the diet out, right? And I feel like that's a lot. That's one of the big reasons why people have a vegan diet, right? They want to change it up. Want to have a healthy lifestyle. So it's like, this is like something that, coming from a South Asian family, it was like something our grandparents or our great grandparents, they kind of already set, right? They had like a fixed schedule on kind of what they were going to eat.
Right.
And they weren't having meat all the time. They were changing it up. So it's like, hey, it's interesting that, like, it's just like uh that thought and this is kind of like merging together now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always say to everybody, I always love it when my Indian friends get married because there is lots of vegan
Yeah.
options.
Oh yeah.
Number one,
Yeah.
there's a ton of food that you can eat for probably
Yeah.
weeks and weeks and weeks because
Yeah.
the weddings are like 5 days or something crazy, right? But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, right. You know
It's
about
it's
that. But there's
yeah.
always like super good options for like vegan stuff, and I go to other weddings, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like my Caucasian friends, and there's no like vegan options.
Yeah. Yeah.
Salad,
That's true.
right? Like
That's true.
salad.
That's true. Or it's like, if there is a vegan option, it's like, okay, they've had to kind of change the flavors to kind of make it vegan,
Yeah,
and then, okay, maybe it doesn't taste as good now, right? Whereas like, okay, the items that we're planning to like bring out, it's not, well, most of the items, it's how we eat them, right? The same
yeah,
spices, the same way of preparing. There's no, it's like, it's like fully authentic, like a meal that we would have.
yeah.
But yeah, it's vegan also.
Is there any vegan, fully Indian, just vegan Indian restaurants in Vancouver?
Yeah, I've come across quite a bit actually, especially in Vancouver. None the top of my head, but I'm sure, like, if you look into it, there should be, because a
Right.
lot a lot of restaurants are vegetarian, and then I know not everyone is, it's not completely vegan, but like I feel like there should be a full-on vegan restaurant, or if there isn't,
Yeah,
it's definitely an opportunity for someone to
100%.
explore.
Uh,
Yeah, but I'm
uh,
sure there should be someone kind of doing that.
Yeah, I would think. I'm just trying to think. Even downtown, I can't. Downtown, I can't think of one that's just purely vegan. And it's interesting because
That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it would pull that crowd because I know so many people downtown, and it's one of those businesses I think it would really work down there, and I really believe
Yeah,
that
100%.
the kind of the specialty vegan, I think, is the next kind of big thing, like, African American vegan, Indian vegan, type of stuff like that. I think those are the next big things coming, are very niche things.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, because it's like last few years, like Beyond Meat was like a big part of like the industry, and that continues to grow. And that's kind of what we're looking at. We're like, okay, well, they're having to like use Beyond Meat. We don't even have to go that route. We have like, like our products are naturally vegan. We just kind of have to like, market it and
Yeah,
explain to our customer kind of what it is. And I feel like South Asian food is so mainstream now anyway, that like people know, right? They
yeah,
know, they want to know more. Yeah, as you said, you've probably been to like an Indian wedding, so it's like you've been to at least one event out of the 5 events that happen. So
yeah, yeah,
you've tasted something somewhere at least.
totally, 100%. Uh, yeah, so that's cool. I love how you guys are, building and where you guys are going and
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah, it's congratulations on, everything you guys are doing and stuff like that. So,
Thanks, appreciate it.
w- last question: what do you think is give advice to entrepreneurs? What do you think is one of the most important things that an entrepreneur must be doing
You know
to?
what? You need to have that entrepreneurial spirit. Like it's like a weird it's like a word, like it's like, you can't just Google what's an entrepreneurial spirit. It's like you really got to feel it. And like
Yeah,
part of that is kind of just going out there and doing things, right? A lot of trial and error. Don't be scared of failure. Even we talked about this, our food packaging business. We're like, hey, we were just kind of overthinking it. We don't know where to get started. And then when I had some time, I was like, hey, played around with like, some just pouches, put a label on, and then, it didn't look great, but it was like a concept. And then we kind of move forward from there. But it's like until you don't take that initial step, you can't take the next one. So it's really important kind of going out there, getting your hands dirty, meeting people, talking to people. That's the biggest mistake I feel like people make, is like you have an idea, you don't share it because you're like, oh, I don't want anyone stealing this idea. It's not like that, you're not saying you have to share your whole business plan, but at least talk to people,
yeah,
they'll give you feedback. Talk to people you don't know, they'll also give you feedback, right? And you have to have thick skin as well. Like there will be negative feedback. um you just take that and accept it, and then you have to like think of it this way: if you get that feedback and you're able to kind of act on it, improve your business before you actually make that mistake or do something wrong, that could save you money as well, right? So it's listening is key, getting your hands dirty is key. um and like just it's a roller coaster every day, right? We wake up every morning, it's like I go to bed and like, hey, problems are solved for today. Wake up in the morning, you could get an email from like a supplier, something short, or a customer wants this that we thought we'd be getting to them next week, but they want it, tomorrow. So it's like it's a roller coaster. So you got to really be ready for that. But it makes it exciting. There's no boring days,
true,
no
true,
dull moments, right?
true, true. I remember
Yeah.
one of my mentors. He's worth about 200 million, and he's giving all his money away. And he had mentored me for about 20 years now and stuff. And
Wow.
and uh, and I remember him saying to me, the better business is just about solving problems, Shane. And you're going to have a
Exactly.
ton of problems. And the better you get at solving problems, and the better you get at building relationships, leading people, developing leaders, working with people, you will always scale. You will always do great things. And I've never
100%.
never
Yeah.
forgot that. Right. So
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. That's completely, that's 100% true. It's like it's like, as good as you are at solving problems, or the better that you get at it, the better you'll be in business, right? It's like
100%.
there's no day that comes by that, we don't see anything that's a challenge. It could be a small thing, but it's like something you need to address. You can't just kind of leave there. But there's always things being thrown at you. So
It's
it's like a
true.
test of your patience and like
Yeah.
abilities to kind of deal with that.
If we're not having problems in our business, I know we're not moving and shaking enough.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's totally, that's it's the essence of it, right?
right. Because I remember when, we were just trying to make it and I didn't have that much money. And I was like, yeah, there was not near as many problems then when you had not as much money coming
Yeah,
in.
no, that's true. That's true. That's like where we're at right now. We're kind of like in our growing phase where we have equipment, but we need to kind of upgrade that equipment to kind of make things a little bit more faster, more efficient. And it's like a problem. It's a good problem because
Yeah.
our customers want more of it. They want it faster. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're 100% right. Like, you know, a little while back, we're like, okay, we didn't have these problems because we didn't have any customers, right?
Totally, yeah.
So this is what we wanted to be. So it's like, hey, now it's my job to figure out kind of how we can do this, land this, and kind of like push it forward.
Right, right.
So it's a good
How
problem.
many people do you have on your team?
So my parents are fully involved in this. So it's two of them. My sisters do a lot of the marketing, so they're
Right,
involved in like marketing and sales. There's five of us siblings in total.
right,
So not everyone's fully involved in the business, but everyone kind of helps out part time. And then we have about uh, five five people full time working in production.
right.
So it comes between 5 and 10 of us. There's always like there's like a full team working. So and that continues to grow as we continue to like increase our business.
Of course. So where do you think your next two most important hires would be?
Oh yeah, it's good. We definitely need someone that can. We need like production staff, not even just staff, like a production supervisor.
Right.
I feel like uh, the more I'm like, I need to be in production to kind of, you know, make sure our quality it maintains what it should be, you know. And initially it was like setting everything up was very important, and now it's like, hey, we have like a model that we can kind of just, you know, start scaling a little bit more. So it's like need some assistance there. Need some assistance more with like sales and marketing. So it's like we
Right.
feel like, hey, the busier that we are, before it was a lot easier to just go to the stores. When we only had like 5 stores, 10 stores, 20 stores, we could just drive by, see how our product is doing, take
Yeah.
photos, and you know, all that stuff is like a lot of fun at the beginning, and
Yeah.
it's still fun, but it's like, you know, you're just not doing it as much because you don't have the time, right?
Yeah. It's true.
So sales, marketing, and production, I would say 50-50, both sides are things that we kind of have to kind of like increase our,
Right.
our people in those areas.
That's cool because I think that's an important message for everybody watching too, because as the business grows, you start to look at, how can I free up my time more to do true CEO activities? And then
Yeah,
start to look and say, okay, can I put somebody here? Could I put somebody here? Because I've seen a lot of small businesses and they're like, well, if I put somebody there, it's going to cost me a little more. But I'm like, but you're going to make way more money. Like you're going to take
exactly,
a little hit for a little
exactly.
while, but that's how you're going to scale that business.
Exactly. So that's like my issue sometimes too, is like, okay, we get too kind of wrapped into like what I'm like, hey, whatever I'm doing, um, I need to be there because who else is gonna do it, right? And I'm like, okay, then I'm like, oh man, I'm like a master's in the business. This is not the way to think about it, right? Like, you know, like there's people that can do this better than me, and it's like, you know, I can be better at bringing the business, to the next level, right? So
Yeah,
it's like it's interesting even with me that there's that pushback, right? And I'm like, I go back and I'm like, hey, this person, they need to be trained, and you know, they might not figure out right away, but it's like, you know, take a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, might take a couple of months, but it's like they need to get better at this part of the business, so I can focus on other parts of the business and continue to grow it, right? And then it's like, yeah, of course, cash flow is always tight. You're not able to bring on as many people as you want, but it's like that's the challenge of the business. That's what you need
yeah,
to figure out, right? Because and that's a position that we're at right now, that it's like, okay, me doing certain parts of the business all the time is holding the business back, right?
yeah. It's
So it's interesting,
it's true.
but it's true.
It's good self-awareness on that one. And I mean,
Yeah,
that's the key of a good entrepreneur is being self-aware all the time and being able to look and say, okay, like how can we do this better? And what can I, you know, take off my plate? I remember when I brought the Curves for Women franchises to Canada, and that went to a $4 billion company. And I got really close with the owner because I was like one of the first in, one of the youngest in. And I remember sitting with him, and he said to me, and then we ended up having like, like in the top, out of 10,000 locations, we were in like the top 10 of the most profitable. And I remember him saying to me, look, as you grow, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. You gotta always remember to try and step back into your CEO activities and build the business. Don't get caught stuck in this business because then you're not going to make the money. You got the skill set to do it, but don't get in that trap. Figure out who can I put here, who can I put here, and lead them properly. And lead them properly. And if you do that, you're going to notice a whole different realm of your location compared to other people's locations.
Exactly. Couldn't have said that any better. It's
Yeah.
so true. Just as it's funny, yesterday I was talking to my sister. You met her at the trade show as well.
Yeah.
So she does a lot of the sales, marketing. But this is kind of like her part-time gig. She works full-time for the government in immigration, and she keeps moving up the ladder there. And yesterday, but she's really good at what she does in terms of sales and talking. I wouldn't have her involved in the operation aspect of it. You know, she that's not her strength. But like talking to people, meeting new clients, building relationships,
Yeah.
getting our product into more stores. She's really good at that. That's why we have her at trade shows. So I was like, hey, how much do you get paid? Right. I just flat out asked her and she told me the figure. I was like, okay, yeah, I can work on this. We could probably like, you know, create something actually full-time for you, because a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now, I need to do other stuff. So it's like, you know, we need to pass this on to someone else. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we can kind of get you in there. And, but, you know, it's my job to create that position for you now, right? And make sure
Yeah.
that our business spits out enough cash that, you know, that we're able to afford you, right? So it's like, it's funny that we're talking about that. We were just talking about that yesterday too.
It's true. I always say that a business owner has one job as CEO, and that's one, to keep the business in business, and two, when the cash comes in, understand where to distribute it
Oh
properly.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I feel that problem. I feel like it's a cycle. It doesn't end, right?
Totally,
Yeah,
100%. Until
yeah.
I
Which
agree.
makes it even more fun, right?
Yeah. Awesome. So where can they all find you at? Websites, social medias, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn, so I can be reached there. It's just my name, and then a website, www.barakaheats.com. You can see kind of like our product line over there if you want to learn more about our products and what we have to offer, where you can find them. We have a whole store locator on there as well. We're on Instagram as well at barakahEats.com. We post frequently where we're going to be at farmers markets, trade shows, that kind of thing. We're getting our demo program up and going now, so hopefully we'll see more of our customers at physical grocery stores now. So that's a little bit different than the past little bit. So
Great.
yeah, so look forward to meeting more people.
Cool. Awesome. Everybody go check them out. Try their stuff. I've tried it. It is super good. I think you guys will really like it. So I highly suggest trying their stuff. Also, all the vegans watching, watch for their new vegan products coming out. It'll be a good choice for you guys. Good flavor, different taste, more variety to add to your repertoire.
Exactly.
Awesome, guys. Okay, everybody, take care. Thanks so much, bro, for this.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.